Weinen.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Nur noch 6 Invis Potions, muss man danach mal welche kaufen wieder.
Same. Der hat mein Wichter getötet, der Arsch.
Watch your step.
War ja was.
Spread. Watch your step. Spread. Spread.
Ich hasse die.
Watch your step.
War das?
Oh, das war der Aoi.
Spread.
Ich glaube, jetzt ist Storming.
Yeah. And my PC froze. And I pro.
Oh, cool. Hui. Heute ist einfach nicht. I don't know, man.
Junge, ist die ganze Woche nicht, Alter. Schon, bei mir schon seit Sonntag nicht. Keine Ahnung, Alter.
What the fuck,
Bei mir Seit
Alter?
fucking Sonntag nicht. Seit fucking Sonntag, Alter. Wanz, Alter. Alles Lappen. Hier, was gekickt, Alter. Annenwald.
Oh. Sheesh. Also wie. Nächste Key. Holy shit, Mann. Was ist denn? Die Woche ist super, habe ich gehört.
Ja, ich will mein Key spielen, Alter.
It turns
Nee,
out he has
morgen.
had the same experience in real life as well. When he was only 7 years old, his corrupt businessman father tried
So
to kill him.
Depleto, Alter.
Ja, wir heben uns den aber auf. Ich heb mir auch dann extra den 30 Everblue für dich auf. Ganze Woche schon.
Ja, fuck dein Ever.
Wow. Was ist denn jetzt so? Mein armer Everblue Key. Der hat dir nichts getan.
Imagine 30er.
World First, 30 Everblue, let's go. Oder, nee, gab's schon 30 Everblue mit Time?
Ich denke
Oh,
noch
Atal.
nicht. Wo? Hä?
30 Atal.
Sieht. Vielleicht habe ich den ja gekickt.
Ayashe
Igno.
heißt er.
Vielleicht hat entweder hat er mich in der Igno oder ich habe ihn in der Igno.
Oh, da will Hunter 28 Everblumen spielen. Nee.
Let's go.
Nee,
Hä?
der Hunter, Alter. Ist ein Hunter, Mann.
Ist jetzt so.
Okay. Let's waste our
Wieso hast du
time.
das eigentlich? Wieso hast du das eigentlich?
Du hast gesagt, du willst Kies ballern. Also, geh da rein, deplete den.
Mach jetzt meinen Destro-Week auch.
The reason is still unknown to Wu Lin, but he remembers his father said success requires sacrifice before throwing him off of a cliff. Then
Mach jetzt
we are
mal ein
introduced
UI
to a
mit
gangster
Destro.
named Mr. Fu. He used to be Jiashan's employer, but is now actively trying to kill him.
Was viel mehr
Jiashan has
Spaß macht als Kies, habe ich gehört.
Was macht Spaß? Week ausmachen.
Week aus für Destro.
Macht insane Spaß. Warum habe ich überhaupt einen Stream angemacht? Kann ich direkt wieder ausmachen eigentlich.
Ja, deswegen habe ich mich eigentlich auch gefragt, wieso mache ich eigentlich Stream an?
Der Hunter lädt uns halt nicht mal ein. Like, what the fuck?
Weil sie dann eine Bitch ist.
information about every criminal activity Fu has ever been a part of. Hence, the gangster wants him dead as soon as possible. A trusted fortune teller claims that Fu's end is near. Although the man has been working for Fu for several decades, he shoots him dead because of the outrageous assumption. The next day, Wu Lin and Fei Fei go to a fancy restaurant. Fei Fei enjoys the meal, while Wu Lin stands by her and keeps watch on everyone. Suddenly, he holds a waitress down, claiming that she is trying to harm Fei Fei. An angered Fei Fei rushes to the bathroom, but Wu Lin barges in and forcefully brings her outside. On their way back home, they get into an altercation again. A bunch of men come to Fei Fei's aid, assuming that Wu Lin is harassing her. She takes the opportunity to run away, but is then abducted by the waitress and waiter from earlier. Wu Lin's intuition is proven correct, but he has no time to celebrate. He quickly follows the car and gets on top of it after jumping off of an overpass. However, he soon loses his grip and falls down. The second time, he doesn't bother jumping on it, but faces it head on. After stopping it and fighting the masked kidnapper, he manages to run away with Fei Fei. When they reach home, Fei Fei asks him how he knew the waiter and waitress were one of the abductors. Wu Lin replies that he has trained himself to learn body language. A person can lie, but their movement shows how nervous, excited, or angry they are. Fei Fei also reveals that she has had several bodyguards growing up. She never had privacy and the freedom to do things as she liked. Hence, she started to hate all the bodyguards in general. In the end, she adds that Wu Lin is not as bad as the other ones. Before going to bed, Fei Fei looks at her family photo and cries over her late mother's memory. Somewhere else, the gangster Fu sends his right-hand man to Jiang Li. The man wants Jiang Li to help them kill Jia Shan. Although Jiang Li is skeptical, he agrees to help them. It turns out that when he first came to the city, Mr. Fu gave him a meal and helped him start the business. In turn, the gangster uses the trained bodyguards for his own good, but Jiang Li feels too indebted to retaliate. The next day, Jiang Li and Wu Lin meet at a construction site. Jiang Li boasts about his knowledge of the real world that Wu Lin has no idea about. He thinks he is
Phil?
better than Wu Lin.
Ja.
29er DRT. Track.
Ja, war gerade noch nicht ab.
Ja. Film 29er TOT.
Wo?
29er TOT.
Ja, Alter, mit. Oh. Okay.
Wir müssen die Erfahrung nehmen.
Die Erfahrung nehmen. Ja, instant. Was ist expired?
Der What?
Cancelled. Die Erfahrung nehmen, Alter. Wir haben genug Erfahrung. Das ist
Ich habe
Deplete
noch nie
ist.
genug Erfahrung.
Ja, das haben wir schon dreimal drin jetzt.
Auf 29?
Ja,
Nein, oder?
doch. Oder war es letzte Woche? Das war letzte Woche.
Das war letzte Woche.
Ja, letzte Woche. Und Insta voll. Weißt du, guck, die wollen uns nicht. Der Dark hat
Und die
uns
wollen
auch
uns
nicht.
auch nicht. Mann. Irgend so ein Kack-True-Teal nehmen die.
Because he has connections, with whom he maintains good relationships. On being asked to stop protecting Fei
Schreib
Fei,
dem mal
Wu
irgendwas
Lin
Lustiges,
refuses.
damit
For
dass wir angenommen werden.
Wanna hear a joke? Your score, lol. Aber wir haben bestimmt angenommen.
The first time in their lives, the brothers stand against each other. Jiang Li reveals that
Wir
he is
müssen
still
wohl
bitter
eigentlich
that
unsere
Wu Lin
eigenen
got the
Keys
special
spielen, ne?
boots and not him. Master always favored Wu Lin and thought he was a born fighter.
guess.
Now that they have a chance, he wants to test who out
Oder
of them
hochspielen
is
jedes
better.
Mal.
They get into a fist
Wow.
fight, but no one overpowers the other since they match in strength. A magic fist technique has always been Jiang Li's specialty. Using it, he punches Wu Lin on his chest and slams him to the wall. In the end, Jiang Li declares they are no longer brothers and walks away.
21er
Following the
DRT.
encounter, Wu Lin takes Fei Fei to a secluded house by a beach. They spend their days practicing kung fu together. Wu Lin reveals that the boots he wears are 25 kilos each. He has been wearing them for the past 8 years in an attempt to master a technique called the 108 kicks. When he takes the boots off, he will be stronger than ever. Wu Lin has been watching Dragon Ball Z. Then, one day, Jiang Li's people find out Wu
29er
Lin and Fei Fei's
WT.
location. But Jiang Li knows that his trainees are not even close to Wu Lin's expertise. He gives them large handcuffs to use in their favor during the fight. They attack at night when Wu Lin is least expecting it. The couple runs into the woods, where Wu Lin is busy fighting the intruders. Taking the opportunity, two of the gangsters kidnap Fei Fei and bring her to a warehouse. Wu Lin follows them but accidentally sets foot in a trap. With a handcuff tied to his already heavy leg, he has a hard time fighting them. Still, he knocks out several men and gives them a difficult
Will
competition.
morgen
In the end,
heute
they
noch
trap
Raid,
both.
Alter. Richtig geil.
Dann kann ich ja wieder was ballern.
Nee, du wirst geballert.
Ja, das stimmt eigentlich auch wieder.
Of his legs
Du
and
wirst
slam
von
him
dem Boss
into a wall.
geballert.
Oh, ich habe gar keinen Bock auf den Boss. Und, hoffentlich einfach bei Weekly und dann kommen wir nie wieder an Tisch vorbei. I don't care, Alter.
Ja, was? Hättest du Bock, ganz Zeit Tinschel zu wipen?
Nein, nein, ich habe keinen Bock. Ich will einfach Cutting Edge, easy peasy.
Ich will einfach mein M-Plus-Erfolg easy peasy.
Ja, das ain't gonna happen, Bro.
Alter, du bist mit zwei Warlocks und ein
Ja,
Bärenpanzer.
okay. Ich brauche die Erfahrung.
Ja, okay.
Snitch.
Wall. When he is weak, a man drags him
Frag
to a
mich, was
field
so bei den
nearby.
Köpfen der
Jiang
Leute
Li
sind.
sees his former brother on the verge of death and feels a hint of
Ja,
pain,
guck mal,
but he
der
suppresses
Monk ist
it
eigentlich
with
ganz gut.
anger.
Warte mal,
He
der Warlock, der ist ein bisschen sass.
Sassy
approaches
Warlock.
Wu Lin and kills him with a final punch to his chest. They bury him in a pit before returning to their base. The rain keeps pouring heavily, turning the pit into a puddle. Suddenly, Wu Lin crawls out of it, revealing that he is still alive. He was born with a heart on the right side of his chest, so the punch didn't do him much harm. With renewed motivation, Wu Lin returns home and takes off the metal boots. It causes him to master the 108 kicks technique.
Echt
Then
switchig
he
auch.
changes his appearance and wears a suit before going to Jiang Li's training center. Hundreds of his trainees who are guarding the place attack him, but now, with 50 kilograms of weight off of his feet, Wu Lin is undefeatable. He only uses his hands for defense and knocks several of them out with his amazing footwork. In the end, he is the only one standing in the ring. Following the encounter, he confidently enters a room with Mr. Fu, Jiang Li, Fei Fei, and Jia Shan. Fu asks him if he is not afraid to die, to which Wu Lin replies that success requires sacrifice. Fu is shocked because he had said the same thing to his son before killing him. Several years ago, Fu and Jiashan worked together as partners, but one time Fu made Jiashan get caught by the police, which in turn caused the death of his wife. Ever since then, Jiashan has been looking to take revenge on Fu. Fu loved his son Wu Lin dearly, until one day he witnessed Wu Lin chasing an animal away just by staring at it. Fu's trusted fortune teller told him that his son would be the end of him and his career. That was the reason why he tried to kill Wu Lin, even though he was just a kid. Fu laughs at his fate, thinking that the fortune teller was right all along. He fires at Wu Lin, but this time, Jiang Li stops him. He is tired of being a pawn in Fu's illegal activities. He claims that he wants to fight Wu Lin and give him a chance to showcase the power of the 108 kicks. They get into yet another battle, where Jiang Li has an upper hand because of the strength-magnifying gloves he is wearing. As the fight proceeds, Wu Lin slowly starts to overpower him, but when Jiang Li is about to be defeated, Fu shoots him dead. With his final breath, he asks Wu Lin to live on and maintain the legacy of the Iron Feet clan. Now, only Wu Lin and Fu are the seen. We see Wu Lin spreading Jiang Li's ashes in the air. The moral of the story today is that fortune tellers are full of shit. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.
Lass mal in den Dungeon reingehen.
Tom and
Wo rein? Nee, nix.
Doch, lass mal in den Dungeon rein. Brauch dich für Omni-CD. Okay, ich muss doch ein bisschen höher stellen.
Jill just moved into a new home gifted to them by Tom's mother. The two of them were talking and eating when they suddenly heard a thud coming from the basement. They went to the basement and were utterly confused when a dog suddenly came out of nowhere. Nonetheless, they were still happy that they now have a dog that Jill named Unagi. They renovated their new home with the help of Tom's friend, Jason. And at night, they had a small housewarming party with Jason and his girlfriend. As they were talking about their childhood, Tom mentioned Jill's drawings of her and a made-up character she named Pretzel Jack, who is inspired by a contortionist. The next day, Jill was walking around the store when she saw Tom talking to a woman. When they got back home, she asked Tom who the woman was. Tom answered that the woman was named Sarah, and he once renovated her and her husband's master bedroom. Jill was still suspicious, though. She asked if Tom slept with the woman, and Tom got defensive, telling Jill that he wasn't going to cheat on her like Jill's father did on her mother. The two of them reconciled that night, and while they were sleeping, Jill had a nightmare. The next day, Tom and Jill saw a blue door in the basement, and they were creeped out as there hadn't been a door in there before. Tom called Jason, and they tried opening the door, but to no avail. Left with no other choice, Jason used a shotgun to break the doorknob, and the three of them opened the door only to see another door at the other end of the hallway. The door has a single handprint on it, and
Gleich müssen wir Twinkies machen, dass wir auf den Main reingeladen werden. Ah, that's gonna be it, bitch. Bitch. Was du wieder Scheiße labert, du glaubst halt nicht.
So ein kleines Erfolgsgefühl hast du.
Ich werde kein Erfolgsgefühl haben mit meinem Holy, Mann. Nicht die Woche.
Oh, 30er Blackout. Ah, das ist Minchi.
Kassak, oh Gott.
Oh nein, Kasach.
Kassak.
Mann, wieso ist denn fast jeder
just
eigentlich
like
ein
the first
Kasach?
door, it was also locked. For days,
Eigentlich sind die
they
voll
tried
toxic.
everything to
Oh,
open
der
the
nimmt
door,
einen
but the door stayed
Disty.
locked.
Und
One
dann
day,
fett die
Jill visited
Client,
the therapist
Alter.
she has been going to for some time now, telling
Junge.
him that she feels unsafe because of the door in their house and that
Geh
she
mal auf
can't trust Tom.
Disty.
Nee. Du weißt schon, dass wir auch in viele Keys reingekommen sind, wenn ich nur Monk war und nicht dich sehe.
Who was obviously hiding something from her. That night, Jill caught
Schreib
Tom
mal in
visiting
die
another
Beschreibung
woman and went back home
irgendwie
to
You
go
want it, I got it oder so.
You wanted, I got it. Wow.
Oder irgendwie Hey you, Meatball Fight.
Mal beim nächsten.
down the basement. She put her palm against the handprint, and the door opened. She entered when, suddenly, her flashlight died, causing her to not see someone passing by in front of her. When she finally managed to open the flashlight again, she saw a man standing in the corner of the room. The man suddenly ran towards her and out the door, and she called the police. The cops said that it must have been a break-in,
Junge, der
but
nimmt
Jill
irgend so einen
told them
Kack Fury. Ist das der 3.8 hat oder was?
Der will den Melee-Comp haben. Als
Junge.
Druid Guardian, dann nimmst du einfach nur Melees mit, Monk und ballerst.
Ja, kannst mich kicken, hab schon verstanden.
Ja, dann weg mit ihr. Schmutz.
Muss Enhancer rerollen.
Ja.
The intruder was already inside the house. Tom asked the cops if they could have someone stay and watch the house from
Oh,
outside for
28
the
Euro.
night. The next day, Jill called
Oh,
Sarah,
Junge,
who told her
ja.
to tell Tom
Spreche
to
ich
stay
gerne
away
an.
from her or she was going to file a restraining
Nee,
order
was
against
bist
him.
jetzt so?
Suspicious, Jill visited Jason to ask him if he knew something about Tom and Sarah, but Jason
Paul
only
hat er
told
keinen
her
Bock.
that there was nothing going
Auf
on.
Everblume
When
hat er
Jill
keinen Bock.
insisted on asking about Tom and
Mensch,
Sarah's
du.
relationship, Jason started gaslighting her. As they were arguing, they
Menschenskinners.
didn't notice that the man from the basement was also there, standing idly before attacking Jason and murdering him. Shocked, Jill wasn't able to do anything but scream for the man to stop. The man started bending and doing tricks before leaving. The case was being investigated, and 2 detectives were questioning
Nico
Jill.
aus wieder
The
richtig-
female detective
ist,
thinks Jill knows who the masked murderer is, because he killed Jason but didn't harm Jill at all. After that, Jill went to the basement and looked for her drawings of Pretzel Jack. For days, she kept thinking about the masked man until she remembered something. She visited her old home and waited for the new owner of the house to leave before sneaking inside to go to her old room. She knelt down in the closet and broke the thin wall that was covering a small door that looked exactly like the door in her new home's basement. She opened the door and saw a human-like figure with a mask on. Back in her own home, she was putting clothes on when she saw the masked man staring at her through the gap in the bathroom door. When Tom checked inside the bathroom, the man was gone. She visited her therapist again, telling the man that Pretzel Jack had become real.
Vielleicht
but
müssen
the
wir
therapist
gerade nochmal unseren Key, den wir eigentlich schon intern haben, nochmal intern spielen, damit die Leute sich denken, boah,
Jetzt
der
sitzen.
Junge hat die Woche schon geballert.
Ey, wir haben die Woche nicht einen Key-Intime gemacht.
Wir haben es Donnerstag gerade erst. So.
Stimmt eigentlich auch wieder. Fühlt sich an, als wäre schon Freitag.
didn't believe her and started coming up with reasons as to why she thought the masked man was Pretzel Jack. The light started flickering just as Jill became agitated. Then it stopped when Jill left. Jill decided to open up to her neighbor, Ian, instead, and the man listened to her without any judgment. When they both realized that the masked man, whom Jill thinks is really Pretzel Jack, killed Jason because she was angry at him, the 2 of them quickly went back to Jill's therapist, whom she had just gotten angry at earlier that day. When they saw that the therapist was still alive, the 2 of them left again. Meanwhile, Tom visited the mysterious woman again. It turns out that the woman is an unconventional therapist who is helping Tom forget all his problems through floating meditation. Unbeknownst to him, he was being watched by the therapist. Jill was alone in the house when Tom's laptop rang, indicating that he had received a call. It was Sarah who was threatening Tom to stay away from her and her family. Jill could hear a baby crying in the background, and she realized that Sarah and Tom must have had a child together. Enraged, Jill unknowingly provoked Pretzel Jack into attacking Tom. Pretzel Jack initially ignored Tom's therapist as she wasn't his target, but the woman saw Pretzel Jack and shot him, causing Pretzel Jack to attack her. Once he was done with the woman, Pretzel Jack went to where Tom was and attempted to kill him. Tom managed to escape but got pinned down and stabbed in the chest by Pretzel Jack. The injured woman saw Tom struggling and shot Pretzel Jack one last time before dying. Tom got in his car, and when Pretzel Jack caught onto him, he immediately reversed the car, only to collide with another car. Pretzel Jack saw what happened and walked away while Tom was brought to the hospital. After hearing about what happened, Ian drove the worried Jill to the hospital. In Tom's room, Jill asked her husband why he hadn't told her about him going to therapy. Tom didn't answer, and the 2 detectives came to question them again. They showed the footage of Pretzel Jack attacking Tom, and Tom mentioned Jill's drawings of Pretzel Jack, stating that the man must have made himself look like Pretzel Jack when he saw Jill's drawings in the basement. The detectives wondered why Pretzel Jack killed Jason, tried to kill Tom, but never even did anything that could potentially harm Jill. Tom and Jill went back home, and the latter told her husband the truth about Pretzel Jack. She stated that Pretzel Jack just wanted to protect her from anything painful, and she admitted that Pretzel Jack first became real when her father left. She then showed him Pretzel Jack's body from back then, but Tom was having a hard time believing it. He asked why Pretzel Jack was mad at him, and Jill demanded that he tell her the truth about the baby. Tom finally admitted that Sarah was his ex, whom he found out was pregnant when he was already with Jill. Sarah's husband thinks the baby is his, but Tom is sure that he is the real father of the baby. Jill was mad because Tom had been lying to her all this time, and the 2 of them started arguing. Concurrently, Pretzel Jack must have felt Jill's anger and went to the couple's house only to see Tom and Jill leaving. Tom and Jill went to the latter's therapist to get marriage counseling. Jill told the 2 men that Pretzel Jack isn't just an illusion and that he's real, but the men still refused to believe her. Jill was furious at how they were treating her like she was a kid with an imaginary friend, and when they heard a
Another day, another recap. Today I have prepared a movie franchise that isn't given enough credit. It goes by the name The Unbreakable franchise, and this trilogy kicks off with the movie Unbreakable, which is followed by Split and ends off at Glass. Without further ado, make sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the recap. The first movie kicks off telling us some stats about comic books and how about 63 million are sold each year. In a Philadelphia department store in 1961, a doctor approaches a woman who just gave birth inside the store. The child cries and cries until the doctor holds the baby and immediately gets stressed out. He tells the woman to inform the ambulance they have an emergency, and the doctor tells the woman the child has fractured legs and arms, which causes the room to become shattered. Many years later, David Dunn catches the train when he plays with a child in front of him. A random woman then sits beside him and the two have some small talk with each other. The woman then says it was a pleasure meeting him and leaves as her next stop is approaching. The child in front of him is just staring at him, but David realizes that the train is not slowing down, and others notice this as well. The lights begin flickering, and the scene cuts to David's son Joseph watching some TV. Flickering through the channels, he finds a news report on a train completely destroyed. It seems the train that David was on derailed and has caused a major catastrophe. At the hospital, David awakens and is immediately approached by a doctor who tells him the train derailed, and cannot believe that David had survived, especially from where he was sitting on the train. He also mentions that David was the only survivor and miraculously did not even break one bone or even get a scratch. David reunites with his son and his wife Audrey. The news, as you'd expect, try getting an interview, but he instead makes his way home. He is in quite some shock, and his wife tries comforting him and tells him goodnight. Sometime later, a memorial service is held for the 177 deaths of that day. Once it's finished, David heads to his car to find an envelope on it. He opens it with a message asking how many days he has been sick in his life. Confused, he
Ja, ich
looks
bin wieder
around, then heads to
abgerutscht.
work.
Ich bin nur noch Platz 60 statt 52 auf Roller.
Ham's lecken. Oh, I can't believe it. Weißt, wenn die sehen würden, das ist 52er Warlock, hätten wir schon Invite. Aber jetzt, ich überlege es, denken sie, sollen wir wirklich einen Top 60 nehmen? I don't know.